everyone, it's Amanda, and today I'm going to be doing my November wrap-up. In November, I read 8 books, which was not my best month, but it wasn't bad. I think 8 books is a pretty good number, so I'm going to show you what I read. So first I read Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I did a review about this and talked about it. I ended up really liking this book. I originally had given it a 5-star rating, and then I bumped it down to 4 because I didn't love it 100%, so I didn't give it a 5-star, but I enjoyed it, and so 4 stars for this. If you're more interested in what I had to say about it, you can check out my video. I have dots on my face. That is weird. There's dots. I just noticed there's like dots on my face. I think it's reflected from my Christmas tree. It's really strange. The next book I read was Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This book was from the library, so I don't have a copy to show you, but I really loved this book. One of my favorites of the year. It was very good, and I gave it 5 stars. And I did a video on that one as well, so you're welcome to check that out if you're more interested to hear more. Then I finished Bag of Bones by Stephen King. I had started this book, I believe, in October and put it down for a while, and I decided I needed to push through and finish it in November. This book was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite. I felt like it kind of dragged in some places, and I did a review about this one as well. Overall, a decent book, and I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read 6 Years by Harlan Coben. This book was pretty good. I haven't talked about this in a review. It's my first Harlan Coben book that I've read, and I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the first part much more than the second part because the way it went, the direction it took, wasn't my favorite type of storyline, but it's about a man who promised his girlfriend 6 years ago that he would leave her alone. She got married, she made him promise, and he promised, but then he finds out her husband has died, so he decides to look her up. And it's an interesting storyline. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his writing style. He has a way of making you want to keep going and keep finding out what's going to happen, so I liked that a lot. But like I said, the storyline wasn't my favorite, and I gave it 3 out of 5. Then I read The Wicked Girls by Alex Marwood. I checked this out of the library, and it is an interesting story. It kind of reminded me of Dark Places in a way, especially in how it was written. It's about 2 women who, when they were 11 years old, were involved in a tragedy, and you don't really know how it all went down. You get snippets of the day that happened throughout the book, which is why it was very similar to Dark Places. So now the women are adults, and they have both changed their identities because it was a high-profile case, and they really don't want to be associated with that anymore, and their paths cross, and it goes from there. I enjoyed this story, but I didn't love it. It is written by an author from the UK, so there were some references that I didn't understand as an American that were, I know, UK type things, but it was a decent book. The writing style was a little hard for me to get into, but I did enjoy the plot. I gave that one 3 out of 5 stars. After that, I read The Martian by Andy Weir. This was another library book that I checked out, and I really enjoyed this one. It's about a man who was trapped on Mars. He was on a mission with his crew, and something happens. They think he's dead. They have to get out of there. They leave him, and he's not dead, so he has to survive. And it was very interesting to see how he survived. But the thing that made the story for me was his personality. This man was so funny. He had such a great attitude. He's stuck on Mars by himself. Things couldn't really get much worse, but he does find ways to look on the bright side, and I really enjoyed that. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars only because there are some parts where there's a lot of info dumps, and it's a lot of science, and if you're not a big fan of chemistry and that kind of stuff, it can get a little bit tedious to go through, but the story itself was wonderful. After that, I read Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. This book is about a woman who has amnesia, and every night when she goes to sleep, her mind is basically wiped clean. She does not remember anything from her past. She sometimes thinks she's young, she sometimes thinks she's older, but she doesn't really remember anything recently. She doesn't know her husband, and it's very mysterious. And there's this sinister mystery surrounding her in the story. I looked so forward to reading this book. I was very excited to read it because I've heard so many good things about it. But I have to say I was a bit disappointed with it. It wasn't as thrilling as I thought it would be. I didn't really connect to the characters, and I was able to guess the big twist before it happened, which usually I can't. And when I do, I feel like I can't enjoy it as much if I guess the twist because it's not a surprise. So overall, it was a decent read, but not my favorite. And I think because I went into it with such high expectations, that's why I was disappointed with it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The last book I read this month was The Red Queen by Philippa Gregory. This story is about Margaret Beaufort, who was a Lancastrian person during the Cousins' War, the War of the Roses, and the whole story is about her trying to get her son on the throne. She's kind of the rival to the White Queen, but she's definitely not a likable character. And I actually really didn't enjoy this one as much as the other one that I read, The White Queen. And it wasn't because Margaret was so unlikable. I read a lot of reviews on this book, and a lot of people didn't like the story just because the character is so wicked, and she's just a very vile woman, very bitter, just not a happy person. That wasn't why I didn't like it. It was because there were a lot of scenes with battles and a lot of stories about the politics that didn't interest me. So that's the main reason that I didn't enjoy this one as much. I did kind of understand why Margaret was the way she was based on her past, but she was definitely not a fun person to be around. So yeah, it was pretty good. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. So that's it. It looks like I read a lot of books that were 3 out of 5 stars. So a lot of average reads, but there were some gems in there as well. Hopefully December will be great. And I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.